let's look at a couple of these controls then. And in this video, I would like to focus on the buttons that we have down here. You have 5, or maybe we can consider the tab panel as some kind of button also. Possible buttons here. And these two, the look of them depends on the platform. So they should kind of be the standard button on the platform. So they will look different on if you're on a Mac or on a Windows machine. And it is the default button, the blue one here on the Mac at least. And so this one should be the default button, and this one should be the standard button. There is normally the default button is if you just hit return, it should select that one. That is not done per SC in LiveCode. You need to handle that by yourself, but you can use them. If you bring up some kind of dialogue, well, then it is usually the system that handles that. So then you have all the buttons that they work in that way. If you take any one of these and just change them in size, well, now they are not a standard button anymore. So now they need to swap to something else, and then they swap into some kind of opaque standard button. When you have a button selected, you see that there are also some kind of styles that you can do. You can set this one to be transparent, and then you have just the text here. You can set it to opaque, then it is kind of the same, but now it is opaque. So if I add a background color to this one, and let's make it red-ish. Now you see that we have a red button, and you can of course set the text to something that is maybe white in that case, like that. So you can configure the buttons in a lot of ways. You can set it as a rectangle. That will be kind of the same, but now if the 3D is there, well, then it will show some kind of 3D look on this one. It doesn't look that well, I think, but it's still there. You can also have the round rect, and that is a rounded button. The problem with this is, or the problem is that, at least in my opinion, is that you can't adjust the roundness as you can with one of my favorites, that is the round rectangle. Of course, here I can say that it should have a 40 pixel radius, and I can configure that in any way I want. And as I can attach code to this one, I can use that as a button also. But there are a lot of different versions of buttons that you can use here. So if I start by bringing this one up, but then if I change that into something else, you see that it changes the appearance. And if I change it into a checkbox, well, then it will become a checkbox, and same with the radio button. They are all the same control. It's just that you change the style of the button. So now when I have these buttons, another thing with buttons is that they can have an icon, or several icons actually. Because if I go to this tab, you see that there are 6 different icons that I can attach to this button. And what are those, and why should we use that? Well, you can use that to create buttons in Photoshop, Affinity Photo, or wherever, Pixelmator, where you feel comfortable. And then you use that image as a button. And to just show you this one, let's bring in an SVG, and let's make it square, maybe. Let's put that and make it 50 by 50. And then I have my image here. To get this into an image, what you can do is that in the file menu, you can go input as control, snapshot of selected object. So now I have a star here. And then I can bring in that one again, but now I would like to change that one. So there is another star, I think. Star, let's take star half, like that. And then we import as control, snapshot of the selected object. And let's also bring in the empty star that we had here also. Star empty, like that. And let's do one final input as control, snapshot of selected object. So now I have 3 icons here, and what I usually do, because it is possible to look into the images. If I go on the button here and bring up the icons, I can click here and then I can say in this tag, but as you can see, well, this one doesn't look in the way I wanted it. And if you have a big image, well, then you just see kind of this square of the image. You see that I can't see the full image. So it works a little bit so, but the ID is powerful. And what I usually do is that, let's say that this should be my standard one, and now it has an ID of 1055. This has 1054 and 1053. So now we know this one, 1055. So let's go here and say that by default, it should have 1055. And when we hover over, it should have 1054. And then when it is armed, it should have a 1053. Oops, like that. So now if I try to run this one, you see that when I hover over, it selects the half star. And then when I press on that one, that was not the correct icon. Let's go here, armed icon. Yeah, that is not the armed icon that I thought it was. Let's go back here. It is the highlight icon, of course, when we press down on this one. So did it stick here? 1053, yes. So now you see that when I press the button, it goes fully colored. And when I hover over just, we have half of that one. And then when I don't do anything, I have the normal icon. So with icons, you can actually do some really powerful things. And what you can do is that you can take this one, don't show the name, and turn it into a transparent button. Now you have just the star. And you can kind of click on that one. Now you see that, what is this frame? And when I click on this one, I don't want that one. Well, that is the focus border. So if I remove that one, and I can also deselect the 3D, that doesn't matter in this case. Now you see that, well, now it has something else. What is that? Well, to remove the border fully, you should set the border width to 0. There is actually a setting here also that it says the highlight border. If you deselect that one, then you will get no border. But if you set the border, if you have that one selected, and now when you have the border width to 0, well, 0 is always 0. So these are buttons and how you use icons on these.